not exactly the best news in the world. Take it with a pinch of salt, but I suppose it's a step in the right direction, which is that the number of visa applications for the UK has actually fallen by more than a third. And that's just over the past year. And it's said to be a sign that net migration is set to tumble from record levels. The UK received 772,000 applications for visas, down by 37% from the 1.24 million in the previous 12 months. That's according to Home Office visa data. I mean, yay, before we pop the corks on our bottles of champagne, 750,000 people is still way too much. It's way too much. It's ridiculously high, but at least it's going in the right direction. Let's speak now to Alp Mehmet, chairman of Migration Watch UK. Alp, it's fantastic having you back on the programme. I mean, at least something, cautiously celebrate that at least the trajectory, the direction of travel is that visa applications are going down. I always said, actually, when Labour came into power, I think they might surprise us by grabbing the nettle when it comes to immigration and actually do more than the Conservative Party did. Was I right to be optimistic?
No, you were not. Things are considerably worse now than they were. The decrease in the number of visa applications that you refer to, that in fact is as a result of policies, of measures that the Tories put in place anyway. We knew it was going to happen. What's happened is that there aren't any dependents applying for or are able to apply to come here as care worker dependents.
Right.
We've got students who were able to come here for a year's course, ostensibly masters, and bring their dependents. That was stopped. These are the sort of effects that what the Tories put in place are now having. No, I'm afraid that things are going to get worse, and you're right to point to the fact that we may welcome the fact that it's a bit lower than it was, but it's still huge. It's still massive. Let's see how many people are actually leaving in due course. Let's see what net migration figures are. I don't see them coming down much below 500,000, if at all, to that level. That means that we're going to still have millions of people added to our population within a relatively short time. Within the next 25 years, if net migration remains at around 600,000, we're looking at another 20 million people added to our population. So, yes, well done. You didn't screw up the Tory policies and measures as you did with the cross-channel and the Rwanda scheme. So at least we should be thankful for that when talking about Labour.
I mean, I just think, how hard can it be? I mean, I heard someone once say, well, the problem is at Cabinet, when it was the Conservative Party in governance, that, they would say, right, we've got to bring down net migration. And then you'd have the health minister say, well, can't be me because we've got to have all these people in the NHS. And the business sector would say, well, it can't be me because the hospitality sector say they need X, Y and Z. And DEFRA would say, well, it can't be us in agriculture because we need the seasonal workers. And education would say, well, we can't do it because without the student visas, the universities won't have enough funding. And by the time they've gone around the table asking everybody to cut migration in their particular department, no one had the wherewithal to do it. And I think, how hard can it be? Surely you just go, we're going to cut net migration. That's it.
Absolutely. The problem is that it's all very well to say we're going to cut net migration. Remember, Boris Johnson said it in 2019. Yes, we're going to bring in a points-based system. But then it's how you arrange things, the sort of behind-the-scenes pressures that lead to measures being put in place that actually suit the employers, that suit the universities. And then you make it even worse by saying to the employers and saying to the universities, you've got a free hand effectively to bring in as many as you like, and you will decide on who is suitable for you to employ or to educate. That's nonsense, frankly.
Yeah, no, I just think it should be a case of this is it. We're not allowed to, you're not going to have any more than, 50,000 people. They're all going to be doctors and nurses, and otherwise that's it. It ends. And surely that is possible to do. That would be, of course, until a judge decides the government's wrong and the government's evil and the government aren't left-wing enough, such as this particular judge, who has presided over deportation asylum appeals. And he is now calling to decriminalise illegal migration into the UK. This man sounds like he should be my best friend, frankly. Listen to this. He supported the campaign to reverse Brexit. Oh, right, yeah, because a plebiscite, actually having a nationwide vote on something doesn't matter. He posted jokes about Jimmy Savile. He made derogatory remarks about the Conservative Party and President Trump. He said of the Conservative Party they should be dealt with as you would deal with the Nazis. How do these people end up as judges? He's now pushing for illegal entrance into the UK to be decriminalised. I'm sorry, if you break into a country, you've broken the law. And quite frankly speaking, if I were to turn up at Oman at the border and just storm it and walk in without a visa, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be given a 4-star hotel, some pocket money and a PlayStation. I'd probably be shot.
I was about to add that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. What this particular judge is calling for is quite baffling. I mean, what he's saying, yes, it's okay to jump into a flimsy dinghy. It's okay to make off from an illegal point on the other side of the channel. It's okay to get here and claim asylum when you're nothing like an asylum seeker should be. You're a bogus asylum seeker. You're an economic migrant. All that's okay. Of course, people are going to come over here and try and get in by any means possible. We've already seen that what the government has actually done or not done with regard to coming across the channel is encouraging people to make their way here illegally. I'm not sure that you need any more changes to the law to allow them to do that. The government is not going to smash the gangs. The numbers are not going to come down. Since 2018, when this first started, there's something like 250,000 people have now come in illegally, around 160,000 in small boats. Then there's another 90 or so that we don't know about. All these people, 250,000 people, the vast majority of them are still here. Now, why wouldn't they make their way here when they know that's going to happen?
Right.
The numbers that we've got in hotels was going to stop. Hotels were no longer going to be used to accommodate illegal migrants. The number's gone up. The backlog has increased, and the numbers coming across the channel in the first 3 months are way, way ahead of anything we've had so far. So that's the extent to which the government is succeeding. The same sort of thing is happening with legal migration.
I always think when they go on about smash the gangs, it's utterly ludicrous. Do they have any idea who the people are behind this stuff? And how this guy is either a radical, I can't say his name. The reason I haven't actually named the judge is because it's an Irish surname, and Lord knows what that combination of consonants and vowels is said like. If Ted, my producer, knows, you can say it in my ear. You don't know, do you, Ted? No, I didn't think you did. No one does. Grego something or the other. But when these people bang on about smashing the gangs, you're talking about, things such as Al-Qaeda, Wagner mercenaries. You're talking about, huge international cohorts with connections to drugs trafficking. You're talking about actually malign state-backed operations, not just a few people sitting there and, making a few phone calls and trying to get their mate over in a dinghy late at night. It's a huge illicit operation that earns more money than the international drugs trade now. And actually, this whole idea that we can just delegate responsibility to other people to do the job for us. We're an island, right? We should actually find it easier to defend ourselves than perhaps someone with a large land border that is incredibly hard to police unless you have miles and miles and miles of chicken wire fence or Donald Trump's walls. We should be able to, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, use drone technology and surveillance technology technology to detect these dinghies in the middle of the channel and take them back to France, because the French authorities have proven they're not going to do this for us. Oh no, they're actually giving small boat migrants life jackets. They're saying, here you go, lads, have this. When you get to the other side, phone the English Coast Guard and they'll come and collect you.
Alex, let's first of all say, what encouraging them is wrong. On the other hand, frankly, I don't want anyone to lose their lives. And that's why we've got to be firm. We've got to be very firm about who comes illegally and who can stay. Whilst we say there's no problem, the bill that's going through Parliament now, there's no mention of illegal entry. There is no mention of removal. That has been removed from what had been there, what the Tories had put in there. That is simply encouraging. It's no deterrence at all. And while the EU still has around 250,000, 300,000 people crossing illegally into EU territory, we don't know for sure, but we do know that there are at least 250,000 who came in last year. Whilst that happens and continues to happen, I'm afraid we will continue to get them turning up on the coast of France and making their way to Dover. That's not going to stop. And the government, you say they surely must know about it. Of course they know about it. They've got the same advisors, the same experts telling them all this that the Tories did. So that when they say we're going to smash the gangs, we're going to stop it, I'm afraid they're lying.
Right. I mean, what's so deeply alarming, and I've heard through my channels, that there are certain allied countries in the Middle East who provided us with intelligence documents saying you do realise that among the cohort of young men who have come into your country from this neck of the woods, a certain number of them are actually jihadist trainers. People who are coming over here to actually train up an army of terrorists in this country. It is a national security threat. And what I don't understand, Alp, I understand, I'm like you, people shouldn't lose their lives at sea. And that's the sort of gamble these people take, getting into a flimsy vessel, knowing that if they float around in the channel, you can't really go, ha, Yabu sucks, go to your demise at the bottom of the brine. You know, you do have an obligation to make sure that people don't die, in the same way that if someone decided to sit on the railway lines, you would go and try and drag them off the railway lines before the train comes. But I don't understand why they have to come in this direction. Why can't the Coast Guard, or I don't know, let's use the Navy or whatever, Border Force, why can't they meet people in the middle of the channel and say, right, we're going to rescue you. You came from France, we're going to take you back there. What would happen? Right, if we did that? Obviously, the French are going to kick off about it. There'd be some sort of diplomatic incidents. I mean, they're actually kicking off now about fish while we're trying to figure out how to help Ukraine, because the French are like that. But what would actually technically happen if we did that?
What would technically happen? There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't do it.
Right.
Now, you touch on the French. Let's look at the wide relationship. I mean, clearly, the French are our allies. We are close militarily, socially. We go on holidays there. I mean, all these things. It's just impossible, I think, for us to say, right, we're going to set the SAS on these people. They're going to gather them up, ship them back to France and dump them on the beach. That's just not realistic. It isn't going to happen. And I think that really not only isn't going to happen, but suggesting that it should perhaps is not really helpful. And I'm sorry if I'm almost sounding woke on that. I think that in the long run, it would backfire and we would end up with a bigger problem than we've got even now. However, I don't think that there's any reason why, first of all, we shouldn't resolve from the ECHR. We shouldn't repeal the Human Rights Act. We shouldn't detain those who arrive here, and deal with them quickly and then remove them. Either remove them whence they came or send them back to a country prepared to take them. Rwanda is no more, but there are other countries, safe countries, that I'm sure would be prepared to take them back and have them so long as we paid. In the long run, it will be cheaper than doing what we are at the moment.
Couldn't agree more. Alp Mehmet's chairman of Migration Watch UK, thank you ever so much for being on the show.